of hundreds of Jamaicans. Literally, we have 215 persons who will be receiving honors and awards here at King's House. The ceremony will look a little different this year. We're actually here at King's House, but we're in an enclosed area. And of course, if you are here in Kingston, you know that it has been raining for the last couple of days. And so we are going to be nice and dry and cool inside this enclosed area on the lawns of King's House. Let me tell you a little bit about who will be receiving honors and awards this year. So the highest honor that will be given out this morning is the Order of Merit, and it will be bestowed on the Honorable Professor Gerald Layla, eminent Jamaican scientist and former principal of the University of the West Indies, and that's the Order of Merit. Other notable awardees include Dr. Julius Garvey, and he's the son of national hero, the Right Excellent Marcus Garvey, Dr. Rita Marley, Mr. Glenn Titus Campbell, the Honorable Lester Mike Henry, Mr. Robert Pickersgill, and international reggae superstar Sean Paul Henriquez. And of course, you know, we have so many other Jamaicans who will be recognized for their contribution across many disciplines. We're talking about sport, media, science, academia, philanthropy, and so many professionals who work tirelessly and have given so much to create a Jamaica that we are so proud to call the land of our birth for many of us who are so fortunate. We are going to hear a little bit more about these honors and awards, what they really mean and why it is so important to these recipients this morning. So we're going to go now to a quick feature to give you all of those details.
Intrinsically Jamaican, a culture instilled, cultivated, and groomed, where ordinary Jamaicans, quite like you and I, play significant roles in contributing to the national development of our green isle of the Indies. And the reward, one of them anyway, public recognition through an annual National Honors and Awards ceremony, introduced with the National Honors and Awards Act on July 18, 1969, under the leadership of then Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Hugh Lawson Shearer.
Ceremony of investiture and installation of the National Honors and Awards.
The National Honors and Awards ceremony is held each year on Heroes Day to formally recognize the services and meaningful contributions of many of our Jamaican citizens. This formal recognition is conferred through the orders of the Societies of Honor and National Awards and by the award of the Badge of Honor and the Medal of Honor.
The orders are in various categories. The orders number 6 main orders in order of importance, and after the orders there are the badges and also medals of honor. The senior most order is the Order of National Hero, and that is the award given to those deemed to be national heroes. Each of the orders have a motto, and the motto designates the value. So for the national hero, the motto is, "He built a city which hath foundations," given the depth of the contribution. The next order in rank is the Order of the Nation, and this is the award given to Governors General and Prime Ministers, and that order is designated by the suffix "on" at the end of the names. The motto for the Order of the Nation is "One Nation under God." The next ranked order is the Order of Excellence. This is the order given to foreign dignitaries by the government of Jamaica to recognize their value in bilateral relations. And the motto for the Order of Excellence is "Excellence through Service."
For appointment as members of the Order of Merit, Dr. the Honorable Harry Belafonte, for outstanding contribution in the field of music.
The Order of Merit is ranked next, and this may be conferred upon any citizen of Jamaica or distinguished citizen of another country who has achieved international distinction. A member of this order is styled the Honorable. This order is not conferred upon more than 2 persons in any 1 year, and the motto of the order is, "He that does truth comes into the light."
Miss Grace Beverly Jones, for exceptional contribution in the field of entertainment internationally.
After the Order of the Merit comes the Order of Jamaica, and that order's motto is, "For a covenant of the people." And then we come to the Order of Distinction, which motto is distinction through service. And those are given in 2 levels, the commander class and the officer class. After those orders, so these are the orders, the 6 orders, then comes the badges, and the badges are given for specialized areas such as gallantry, long and distinguished service, long and faithful service actually called, efficient service in terms of the uniform groups, good conduct for the uniform groups as well, and also for meritorious service in a particular field.
To be eligible for any of those awards, it's a simple application process. Anyone is allowed to nominate who they consider to be a laudable individual for an award. Fill out the form, attach a resume and justification for the award. Nominations open on the first working day in January of each year and close at the end of March. The forms are accessible at the Chancery, Jamaica House, or from government ministries, departments, and agencies.
Nominations come into the Chancery and Protocol Department of the Office of the Prime Minister, which is the area given the responsibility for managing the National Honours and Awards system. Once they come into us, they are collated carefully, and then meetings of the subcommittee of cabinet are held, and they would go through the nominations carefully. They would make
We are very thankful to the Jamaica Information Service for that very informative feature. We are now seeing the Prime Minister, the Most Honourable Andrew Holness, arriving at King's House, accompanied by the Chief of Defence Staff of the JADF, Rocky Mead. And one of the things that we often appreciate about the National Honours and Awards is just how resplendent the members of the Jamaica Defence Force all look this morning in their ceremonial outfits. The massed bands of the Jamaica Defence Force are now playing the piece of music called La Marianne for the Prime Minister's General Salute. You're looking at Major A.S. Duhaney, the Guard Commander. And the Guard of Honour this morning is furnished by the 1st Battalion Jamaica Regiment. And the Governor General will also arrive in a short while. And this morning, as we shared, the National Honors and Awards are indeed coming to you live from King's House.
Please stand for Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Andrew Holmes, member of the Order of the Nation and member of Parliament. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, Their Excellencies will arrive shortly.
And as we have shared, 215 Jamaicans will be honored for their exemplary contribution to the nation right here on the grounds of King's House. You're looking at images from the lawn. You're looking right now at the Guard of Honor furnished by the 1st Battalion, the Jamaica Regiment, under the command of Acting Commanding Officer Major M.A. Kennedy. The Guard Commander is Major A.S. Duhaney. So you'll be seeing images from outside on the lawn, as well as those inside an enclosed area where the actual ceremony and presentation will take place. Now we have 215 Jamaicans, as I mentioned before. 71 of those are members of the uniformed groups who will be receiving national honors and awards for a range of things, for long and meritorious service, for gallantry. And we also have more than 140 civilians who will be honored this morning. A total of 4 persons will be appointed as members of the Order of Jamaica. 41 will receive the Order of Distinction in the rank of Commander. 40 persons will receive the Order of Distinction in the rank of Officer. The Badge of Honor for Gallantry will be bestowed on 2 Jamaicans. 23 individuals will receive the Badge of Honor for Meritorious Service, and 30 Jamaicans will receive the Badge of Honor for Long and Faithful Service. And now we see the Governor General, Sir Patrick Allen, and Lady Allen arriving.
We stand for the arrival of the Most Honorable Lady Allen. Excellency, the Governor General has arrived on the ceremonial grounds, and he's being escorted to the saluting dais. He'll be given a royal salute and will inspect the Guard of Honor. Her Excellency, the Most Honorable Lady Allen. Please be seated. will note that the national anthem is incorporated in the royal salute. However, you will only be required to stand for the national anthem to be played when the Governor General has taken his position in the ceremonial pavilion. He'll now be invited to inspect the Guard of Honor.
Your Excellency, Guard of Honor, furnished by the 1st Battalion, the Jamaica Regiment, is formed up in open order with bayonets fixed and await your inspection, sir.
Governor General will now return to the saluting. So momentarily, the Governor General will make his way into the ceremonial pavilion. Back to the saluting days for yet the second royal salute. to acknowledge the arrival of the Most Honorable Mrs. Holmes. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the arrival of His Excellency, the Governor General, the Most Honorable Sir Patrick Allen, Member of the Order of the Nation, Knight Grand Cross of the Most Distinguished Order of St. Michael and St. George. His Excellency the Governor General, the Most Honorable Sir Patrick Allen, Member of the Order of the Nation, Knight Grand Cross of the Most Distinguished Order of St. Michael and St. George, Commander of the Order of Distinction, Knight of Grace of the Most Venerable Order of the Hospital of St. John of Jerusalem. Please remain standing for the national anthem. Please be seated.
Ceremony of installation and investiture of National Honors and Awards 2019 does in fact look different from what you would be used to over the years. We are now inside an enclosed area referred to as the Presentation Pavilion, still on the lawns of
His
King's
Excellency, the Governor General, acting in accordance with the provisions of the National Honors and Awards Act, has been pleased, on the advice of the Prime Minister, to give orders for the conferment of the Order of Merit upon the following person with effect from the 6th day of August 2019. Professor the Honorable Gerald Cecil Layla, a member of the Order of Jamaica and a member of the Order of Distinction in the rank of Commander, for his eminent contribution to Jamaica and the world's development through the application of science, technology, and innovation, and service to the public and private sectors. Professor Layla is unable to be with us this morning. The insignia will be received by his son, Mr. Mark Layla.
Professor Layla is widely regarded by the local, regional, and international scientific community as the Dean of Science, Technology, and Innovation. A most distinguished and pioneering scientist, he was awarded the Order of Jamaica previously and spearheaded the formation of the International Center for Environmental and Nuclear Sciences, ICENS, at the University of the West Indies, Mona, in 1997. Professor Layla, as many know, is also
His Excellency the Governor General, acting in accordance with the provisions of the National Honors and Awards Act, has been pleased, on the advice of the Prime Minister, to give orders for the conferment of the Order of Jamaica upon the following persons with effect from the 6th day of August 2019. Dr. Julius Winston Garvey, for distinguished contribution to universal civil activism and promotion of entrepreneurship and the legacy of Garveyism and Pan-Africanism.
Dr. Julius Garvey is, of course, the son of Jamaica's first national hero, the Right Excellent Marcus Mosiah Garvey. He is a board-certified cardiothoracic and vascular surgeon who practices in Long Island in the state of New York in the United States. Dr. Garvey has been on several educational and medical missions to countries in Africa and the Caribbean, including Jamaica, where he lectures on the life and legacy of his father. He also lectures in agroecology and participates in the annual Global Health Catalyst Summit. Dr. Julius Winston Garvey, Order of Jamaica.
The Honorable Lester Michael Henry, a member of the Order of Distinction in the rank of Commander and a Member of Parliament, for 40 years of distinguished public service, political representation, and public policy development.
Known in political services, political circles as Mike Henry, he has been a member of Parliament for the constituency of Central Clarendon since 1980. Mike Henry is also an accomplished compiler, an author, and publisher. He's had a long career as a community activist and politician, committed to the promotion of youth and his constituents, and continues to advocate strongly for reparations to Jamaica. In April 2018, Mike Henry assumed the role of Minister without portfolio in the Office of the Prime Minister.
Mr. Robert Earl Levy, a member of the Order of Distinction in the rank of Commander, for outstanding service to the agriculture sector and philanthropy.
Robert Levy has contributed significantly to the growth and development of Jamaica's agriculture sector, while impacting the lives of thousands through his philanthropic pursuits. He served the Jamaica Broilers Group for 59 years and fostered the development of the contract farming model, where farmers from neighboring communities are contracted to grow flock for the company. He is a proud recipient of the Order of Distinction in the rank of Commander CD in 2002. He's also an inductee in the private sector of Jamaica PBCJ Hall of Fame.
Dr. Alpha Constantia Rita Marley, a member of the Order of Distinction in the rank of officer, for outstanding contribution to the popularization of Jamaican music and by extension brand Jamaica on the world stage and for humanitarian work through the Rita Marley Foundation.
The ever popular and famous, I would add, Rita Marley was honored in 1996 with the Order of Distinction, and in 2010 she received the Marcus Garvey Lifetime Award. Dr. Manley, as she is properly styled, was a member of the celebrated vocal group the I3s along with Marcy Griffiths and Judy Mowat. They gained recognition as the backing vocalists for Bob Marley and the Wailers. She's widow, of course, of the legendary Bob Marley in 2000. She created the Rita Marley Foundation, a non-governmental, not-for-profit organization that works to alleviate poverty and hunger in developing countries. The foundation specifically targets the elderly and youth and has given a number of scholarships to music students in Ghana. She was made an honorary citizen of Ghana and is also the founder and chairperson of the Robert Marley Foundation, Bob Marley Trust, and the Bob Marley Group of Companies.
Mr. Robert Dixon Pickersgill, Member of Parliament for Public Service and Political Representation.
Robert Pickersgill is the longest-serving chairman of the People's National Party, PNP, at the time
for Public
when he
Service
retired
and
in
Political
2017.
Representation.
He had held that post for 25 years. He's been a member of Parliament for the Northwest St. Catherine constituency from 1989, serving 6 consecutive terms. Mr. Pickersgill's contribution to central government spans over 2 decades, with him serving in various capacities, including Minister of Water, Land, Environment and Climate Change, Minister of Public Utilities and Transport, Minister of Transport and Works, Minister of Housing, to name just a few. Mr. Pickersgill has, to his credit, several major infrastructure projects, including Phase 1A of Highway 2000.
His Excellency, the Governor-General, acting in accordance with the provisions of the National Honours and Awards Act, has been pleased, on the advice of the Prime Minister, to give orders for the conferment of the Order of Distinction upon the following persons with effect from the 6th day of August 2019, for appointment as members of the Order of Distinction in the rank of Commander. Ms. Olubanke Adenike Carol Aina, for outstanding contribution to law and legal education.
Ms. Aina has been principal of the Norman Manley Law School since 2012 and an active member of the Civil Procedure and Family Law Committees of the Bar Association.
Mr. Edward Ed Norman Barnes, for service in journalism and media in the sporting arena.
Ed Barnes served as sports editor at Radio Jamaica, RJR, from 1976 to 1989. A very popular sports journalist here in Jamaica.
Dr. St. Aubin Bartlett, for outstanding service to the horse racing industry and as a veterinarian.
Dr. Bartlett has served the horse racing industry as a regulatory veterinarian for 27 years.
Mrs. Margaret Ellen Beckford, for outstanding service to sport development, in particular netball.
Mrs. Beckford has given 26 years of outstanding service to netball organizations and schools in Jamaica. She helped form and was first president of the Netball Association of Jamaica.
Mr. Bruce David Bicknell, for significant community service in support of social development and education in the inner city.
Mr. Bicknell is the managing director of Tankweld Metals and chairman of the Waterhouse Football Club and Seawood Primary and Infant School. Under his leadership, Tankweld has spearheaded and funded various projects geared at social and community development.
Mr. Michael Anthony Campbell, for contribution to tourism, especially in the area of transportation.
Mr. Campbell is chairman and managing director of Island Car Rentals. He has spent the past 46 years building and providing leadership at the company, which is a major player in the transportation sector within the tourism industry.
The Honourable Dr. Horace Anthony Chang, Member of Parliament, for distinguished public service in the area of politics.
Dr. Chang is the Minister of National Security, General Secretary of the Jamaica Labour Party, and Member of Parliament for North West St. James since 2002.
Mr. Augustus Gussie Clark, for distinguished contribution in the field of music.
Now, Gussie Clark started working in the music industry by cutting dub plates before making his debut as a producer in 1972. He worked with artists such as Dennis Brown, Gregory Isaacs, Augustus Pablo, Leroy Smart, and the Mighty Diamonds.
Mr. Christopher Alfred Daring, for outstanding contribution to banking and finance, telecommunications and sports marketing.
Chris Daring is an outstanding entrepreneur who has established himself across the Caribbean in the field of banking, finance and telecommunications.
Dr. Andre Christopher Franklin, for distinguished service to the Electoral Commission of Jamaica.
Andre Franklin has been a nominated commissioner to the Electoral Commission of Jamaica since 2010. Served as a government senator from 2007 to 2011.
Reverend Dr. Peter George Washington Garth, for service to religion and community development.
A very popular figure in local religious circles, Reverend Dr. Garth is the first Vice President and immediate past President of the Associated Gospel Assemblies. He's Senior Pastor of the Hope Gospel Assembly in St. Andrew.
Mr. Wayne Golding Sr., for significant contribution in the Jamaican diaspora community in the United States of America and to national development.
Mr. Golding's contribution to the Jamaican diaspora community started in 1982 while he was studying in the United States. He initiated several community projects to assist newly arriving young Jamaicans to adjust to the new life in New York.
Mr. Sylvester Gerard Hemmings, for dedicated service to the Jamaica Constabulary Force and community development.
Mr. Hemmings served the JCF with distinction and was head of Special Projects Unit in the Planning, Research and Legal Affairs Division of the JCF. He is a practicing attorney and specializes in civil and criminal litigation.
Mr. Sean Paul Ryan Francis Sean Paul Henriquez, for contribution to the global popularity and promotion of reggae music.
And by that applause, you know exactly how popular Sean Paul is, a Grammy Award-winning dancehall superstar. Some of his biggest hits are We Be Burning, Temperature, Cheap Thrills, and Rockabye. A huge international fan base.
Professor Clinton Alexander Hutton for exemplary contribution to academia and the arts.
Professor Hutton is an internationally recognized educator, photographer, and painter. As a researcher, he has focused on Jamaica's oral history, Africana culture, religions, philosophy, and popular culture. And there is still a gallery of fans who are cheering Sean Paul on as he makes his way to his seat.
Mr. Neville Garth Mackenzie James for service to Jamaica in the field of media and broadcasting.
Now, Neville James entered the field of journalism as a trainee journalist at the Gleaner 58 years ago. Today, as a communication consultant, he has contributed significantly to the growth of journalism in Jamaica.
Reverend Karen Cadian Curlew for service to religion and community development.
Reverend Curlew was installed as the first female president of the Jamaica Baptist Union, the JBU, on February 25, 2018. She also served as vice president for the Jamaica Baptist Union, beginning her pastoral ministry 16 years ago at the Linstead Circuit of Baptist Churches in St. Catherine.
Mr. Peter George Knight for contribution to the health sector and environmental planning.
Peter Knight's professional career spans over 43 years in public service. He is the Chief Executive Officer, Government Town Planner of the National Environment and Planning Agency, NEPA.
Mrs. Marva Verona Lawson Byfield for contribution in the field of health and community development.
Marva Lawson Byfield has over 38 years of experience in public health nursing and midwifery in Jamaica. As a critical care nurse and registered midwife, she provided expert clinical care to patients and delivered, I'm sure, hundreds of babies.
Posthumous award, Mr. Earl Anthony Levy for significant contribution to the growth of the tourism industry. The insignia will be received by his daughter, Ms. Suzanne Levy-Louis.
And this posthumous award to Earl Levy in recognition of his contribution to tourism. He was indeed a mastermind and spearheaded the luxurious Trident brand in Portland, opened the Trident Vacation Villas in the mid-1950s. Later designed the lavish Trident Castle.
Honorable Miss Justice Christine MacDonald for distinguished service in the field of law and the judiciary.
The Honorable Miss Justice Christine MacDonald has been a judge of the Supreme Court for the past 18 years. Prior to that, she served in various legal posts, including Registrar of the Supreme Court. And in total, the people of Jamaica have benefited from her more than 40 years of public service.
Mr. Raymond Anthony St. Elmo McIntyre for rendering outstanding service in the areas of architecture and procurement.
Mr. McIntyre has provided over 52 years of service to the construction industry and has used his architectural skills in the preservation of national monuments, including Devon House and the Ward Theatre. He's chairman of the National Contracts Commission currently.
Mr. Clovis George Metcalf, a member of the Order of Distinction in the rank of officer, for outstanding contribution to the banking sector.
Clovis Metcalf is a veteran banker who has served as Managing Director of CIBC First Caribbean International Bank, Jamaica Limited. In 2014, the government of Jamaica conferred on him the Order of Distinction Officer class for outstanding service to the public service and banking. Many people may not know that he's also the chairman of the Jamaica Racing Commission. And you may realize that the flow of presentations is moving a little faster than it has in the past. Recipients go on stage in batches of
Mr.
8.
Herbert Anthony Herbie Miller, for sterling contribution to nation building through the elevation of Jamaican music and the arts.
Herbie Miller is an internationally recognized musicologist, cultural historian, music producer, manager, and authority on the history and evolution of Jamaica through music and its contribution to our culture. His career spans more than 40 years. He's the current director and curator of the Jamaica Museum.
Dr.
Music
Michael
Museum.
Motto, for contribution to the cattle industry.
Dr. Mota is currently senior veterinarian at Jamaica Broilers High Pro Division, where he advises and trains farmers in best practices in the poultry, swine, small ruminant, and cattle industry.
Mr. Donald Lloyd Mullings, for service in the field of community development, entrepreneurship, and philanthropy.
Donald Mullings believes in community development through education and has therefore instituted bursary award programs in several schools across Jamaica. Recently, he established M&M Jamaica Limited, sponsored scholarships for students pursuing tertiary education in engineering and construction-related fields at the UWI and UTEC.
Mr. Basil George Alexander Nelson, for contribution and dedicated service to the engineering profession.
Basil Nelson is a founding member and fellow of the Jamaica Institution of Engineers, the JIE. He has been a registered professional engineer in Jamaica since 1988 and a chartered electrical engineer in the UK since 1973. Mr. Nelson also served on the board of the Jamaica Public Service Company from 1990 to 2001.
Mr. Richard Patrick Sam, for service to tourism, winter sports promotion, and community development.
Richard Sam is a naturalized Jamaican who has contributed significantly to the growth and development of the tourism sector. He is the conceptualizer of the Club Caribbean Resort in Runaway Bay, St. Anne, which was built in the 1960s. In 1988, he acquired the Draxhall Estate, which is also in St. Anne.
Ambassador Sheila Ivoline Seeley Monteith, for outstanding contribution to the Foreign Service.
Ambassador Monteith is a career Foreign Service officer who has served for more than 32 years in various capacities at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. She's ambassador to the Kingdom of Belgium and permanent representative to the European Union.
Mr. Fred Junior Smith, for outstanding contribution to tourism, entrepreneurship, and community development.
Fred Smith has been an entrepreneur for almost 40 years and has helped to promote Jamaica as a tourist destination. His transportation company, Tropical Tours, operates out of Negril, Montego Bay, Ocho Rios, and Kingston. It has over 150 persons directly or contractually employed.
Mrs. Jacqueline Maria Stewart Leckler, for outstanding contribution to entrepreneurship through the development of the automobile and transportation industry and for community service.
Mrs. Stewart Leckler has given over 30 years of outstanding service to the automobile industry. She played an integral role in expanding the Stewart Automotive Group of companies, which incorporates management, customer relation, and administrative skills. He's also involved in several philanthropic endeavors associated with youth empowerment and early childhood education. Partnered with the Food for the Poor in constructing basic schools and starter homes. Really has worked in community development for many, many years.
The Honourable Mrs. Justice Sarah Elizabeth Thompson James for distinguished service in the field of law and the judiciary.
Justice Thompson James has given over 40 years of invaluable service to the judiciary, working in various capacities including clerk of courts and senior resident magistrate.
Ms. Valerie Patricia Vieira for stellar public service and visionary leadership in the field of industrial development.
Valerie Vieira is the Chief Executive Officer of the Jamaica Business Development Corporation, the JBDC, an agency she helped to form in 2001 to meet the development needs of MSMEs and the small business sector. She spent a significant portion of her over 40 years of dedicated public service helping small businesses to grow.
Mr. Evan Michael Williams for outstanding, visionary and dedicated service to Jamaica in the fields of architecture, design and philanthropy.
Over the past 46 years, Evan Williams has designed commercial, residential, institutional and hotel properties that have positively impacted the development of Jamaica. He's been instrumental in the growth
the
of
Honourable
the tourist sector
Mr.
as well.
Justice Frank Osborne St. Martin Williams for outstanding service to the legal profession and the judiciary.
Justice Frank Williams is currently serving as a Court of Appeal judge. In 2007, he was appointed as a puisne judge in the Supreme Court, where he served
the following
until
recipients
2015.
are honorary members of the Order of Distinction in the rank of Commander. Mr. John William Cass-Gabbers for contribution to the employment of Jamaican workers in North America to the benefit of the Jamaican economy.
Cass-Gabbers is the owner of Gabbers Farms, the largest employer of Jamaicans on the government's farm work program in North America. The farm currently employs 678 Jamaicans every year.
Ambassador Brenda LaGrange Johnson for outstanding philanthropic and humanitarian contribution to Jamaica.
Ambassador Johnson served as the U.S. top diplomat to Jamaica from 2005 to 2009 and is a friend of Jamaica. She's an esteemed humanitarian and has worked with the American Friends of Jamaica on numerous projects.
Mr. Robin G. Mafood for commitment to social welfare in the provision of housing for the poor in Jamaica and countries of the Caribbean and Latin America.
Robin Mafood was born in Detroit in Michigan and is one of the original founders of Food for the Poor and has served as Executive Vice President and Secretary of the Board of Directors since its inception in 1982. He's been described as a spiritual businessman with a true heart for the poor.
His Excellency, the Governor General, acting in accordance with the provisions of the National Honours and Awards Act, has been pleased, on the advice of the Prime Minister, to give orders for the conferment of the Order of Distinction upon the following persons with effect from the 6th day of August 2019. For appointment as members of the Order of Distinction in the rank of officer. Ms. Barbara Annette Allen for contribution to public service in the area of education.
Ms. Allen has served for more than 42 years in the field of education, working in various capacities, including Assistant Chief Education Officer, Senior Education Officer, and Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of
Commissioner
Education.
of Police Ronald O'Neill Anderson for outstanding community service.
ACP Anderson is an experienced police officer who has served Jamaica with pride. From 2005 to 2007, he served as an international police officer in the United Mission in Sudan, East Central Africa.
Mrs. Rose Bennett Cooper for service to legal reform in Jamaica.
Mrs. Cooper has been providing legal counsel to the local government authorities for more than 23 years. She has been legal advisor on many issues relating to breaches in building and planning laws, governance, revenue, permits, and service delivery.
Deputy Commissioner of Police Clifford Albert Blake for service to Jamaica through outstanding performance in the Jamaica Constabulary Force.
DCP Blake is a popular Jamaican police officer and has served in various capacities in the JCF, doing so for more than 3 decades.
Major retired Desmond Antonio Brown for public service.
Major Brown has given over 30 years of service in the public service. He is the general manager of Independence Park Limited, a position he has held since 2004. His career began in 1977 when he joined the Jamaica Defense
Mrs.
Force.
Carmen Sylvia Brown Morrow for contribution to the field of entrepreneurship and philanthropy.
Carmen Brown Morrow, a very successful and inspiring business owner for more than 50 years, has an overwhelming desire for kindness and generosity. Mrs. Brown Morrow has been made,
Mr. Glenn
numerous
Godfrey
charitable
Titus
contributions.
Campbell for over 38 years of outstanding contribution to Jamaican theatre as an actor on stage, television, and film, and the mentoring of students of theatre.
And that applause says it all. His most famous character played by Glenn Campbell is Titus. And we see that charisma and that humor coming out even as he receives his award.
Mrs. Anna Chang Lau for contribution to the field of entrepreneurship and philanthropy.
Mrs. Chang Lau has been an entrepreneur for many years. 10 years ago, she opened her first wholesale supermarket, National Self-Serve, in Mape and Clarendon. And another new feature this year, as you can see, are ramps for persons with disabilities to gain access to the presentation platform.
Ms. Alessandra Darlene Chung for invaluable contribution to tourism and community development.
Miss Sandy Chung, as she is affectionately known, served the tourism industry for approximately 27 years. For 20 of those years, she was a director at the Tourism Product Development Company, the TPD Co.
Mrs. Norma Gloria Prairie for service in the field of community development.
Norma Prairie has given 70 years of service to the parish of St. Mary and is the oldest serving Justice of the Peace in the parish. She will celebrate her 90th birthday in January. She has served as an educator, a mentor, a philanthropist, tourism worker, and family planning officer.
Mr. Louis Anthony Ducasse for 52 years of outstanding service to the boating industry.
Mr. Ducasse started the Duray's boat sale and marine supply company, through which he provides boating parts and technical services locally and internationally.
Mr. Audley Anthony Gordon in recognition of service in volunteerism, particularly the prison ministry.
Audley Gordon is Executive Director of the National Solid Waste Management Authority, and for over a decade he has been providing voluntary service to the NGO Prison Fellowship, aiding in the rehabilitation and welfare of Jamaican
Mr.
inmates.
Stanley Oswald Gordon, for contribution to the building industry and the development of national physical infrastructure.
Stanley Gordon has significantly contributed to the development of the country's pre- and post-independence infrastructure. Some of the more notable road projects include the removal of tramcar lines and the reconstruction of the Constant Spring to Crossroads and Halfway Tree to Papine main roads.
Dr. Margaret Olivia Green, for outstanding contribution in the field of medicine and as an anesthesiologist.
Dr. Margaret Green has served in the medical field both locally and regionally for more than 45 years. Born in Trinidad and Tobago, she was the first woman to be named a Fellow of the Medical Association of Jamaica. She also served as president of the Commonwealth Medical Association from 1992 to 1993.
Deputy Commissioner of Police Selvin Alexander Hay, for service to Jamaica through outstanding performance in the Jamaica Constabulary Force.
DCP Selvin Hay joined the JCF on Emancipation Day in 1986. Throughout his 32 years of service, he worked as an investigator, spending a great portion of his career
Mr.
crafting
Jason Maxwell Densham Hensel, for contribution to tourism and community development through social entrepreneurship in the parish of St. Elizabeth and to the south coast of Jamaica.
Jason Hensel is managing director of the award-winning Jake's Hotel located in Treasure Beach in St. Elizabeth. He founded and chairs Bread's Treasure Beach Foundation, which promotes education, conservation, and sport for social change. There we see a member of the team organizing the recipients on stage.
Jasmine Arlene Isilma Burke Holness, for long and dedicated service to the agricultural sector.
Jasmine Holness has contributed 37 years to the nation's agriculture sector in the field of animal genetics and animal breeding.
Mrs. Faye Ann Hutchinson, for invaluable contribution to the insurance industry in Jamaica.
Mrs. Hutchinson has spent over 20 years in the Jamaican insurance sector. She's an executive insurance agent at Guardian Life Limited, the largest indigenous financial services and insurance group in the Caribbean.
Mr. Bruce Rex Vernon James, for sterling contribution to the development of sports in Jamaica and especially in the field of athletics.
Bruce James is a very popular and renowned track and field analyst and commentator. He's contributed his expertise to the sporting industry for over 25 years. He is also president of the MVP Track and Field Club,
Mr. Desmond Jack Desi Jones, for contribution to the development of Jamaican music in the realms of jazz, show music, and reggae.
Desi Jones was introduced to music at the age of 7 when he started playing the recorder and conga drums at the Institute of Jamaica. He became a professional drummer in 1976 at the age of 17.
Mr. Ian Lewis, for over 50 years of contribution to the reggae music industry with the Inner Circle Band.
A bass player, Ian Lewis, and his older brother, Roger, who will also be receiving an award, formed the Grammy Award-winning reggae band Inner Circle in 1968.
Mr. Roger Lewis, for over 50 years of contribution to reggae music with the Inner Circle Band.
Roger, like his brother, is a part of the Inner Circle Band, lead guitarist and a co-founder. And We know the band earned another Best Reggae Album Grammy nomination in 1994 for
Brigadier
Reggae Dancer.
Raj Neville Algernon Mason for distinguished service to the Jamaica Defense Force.
Brigadier Mason has served the military for 29 years. He joined the Jamaica Defense Force on October 23, 1989 and served in the capacity of a commissioned officer who over time held numerous appointments.
Mr. Lockett Constantine McGregor for contribution to sports, especially in the development of tennis.
Mr. McGregor has contributed to the development of lawn tennis in Jamaica for more than 30 years, working with both junior and senior players at the national level. He has also represented Jamaica as a manager and coach for both teams at the Davis Cup, Fed Cup, Junior Brandon and ITF Eastern Caribbean Circuit Division. And now another group of recipients take their place on the presentation platform.
Mr. Wayne St. Anthony Mackenzie for contribution to the sustainability of Jamaica's energy sector and civic development.
Wayne Mackenzie's service to Jamaica's energy sector spans 20 years. He joined the Jamaica Energy Partners in 1996 as the Chief Project Engineer and was appointed General Manager in the year 2000.
Posthumous award for Mr. Jacob Miller for contribution to reggae music with the Inner Circle Band. The insignia will be received by his son, Dr. Miller.
Jacob Miller was the lead vocalist of the Inner Circle Band from 1975 until his untimely death in 1980. He is the third member of the band to be recognized with an award today. His tragic passing rocked the reggae music world at the time and led to the temporary disbanding of the Inner Circle Band. Sure, his son is very proud.
Barrington Deswick Perry for outstanding contribution to sport development, in particular cricket and football.
Now, Hugh Perry is widely known as Mr. Portland. His devotion to cricket and football led him to serve faithfully as president of the Portland Cricket Association for the past 50 years.
Mr. Brian Paul Spuddy Rickman for skillful and dedicated service as a sports commentator in the horse racing industry.
Spuddy Rickman is the voice of horse racing in Jamaica. He began professional race commentary in the late 1970s when he joined the staff of the then racing promoter as an assistant race caller.
Mrs. Alcyon Roach Wilson in recognition of outstanding philanthropy.
Mrs. Roach Wilson is an accomplished entrepreneur, philanthropist, and Jamaica's Consul General to New York. She's head of implementation and treasurer for the Jamaica's Promise Foundation, a non-profit voluntary organization that provides educational resources to the underprivileged.
Mr. Patrick Leroy Roberts for contribution to community development, sports and music.
Patrick Roberts started the Shocking Vibes production company in 1985 and produced several artists, including the highly successful Grammy Award-winning Beanie Man. He developed the production company into an internationally recognized entertainment brand.
Posthumous award for Mrs. Ruby Spencer Blake for service to the Ministry of Labour and Welfare, and in particular the Overseas Program. The insignia will be received by her son, Mr. Andrew Blake.
Mrs. Spencer Blake worked at the Farm Work Center in the Ministry of Labour on Hanover Street in Kingston before being transferred to the Mandeville office. She often challenged the farm workers to invest in their children's education and eliminate the cycle of poverty.
Mr. Nelson Christian Stokes for contribution to the development of sport in Jamaica.
Now, Chris Stokes is widely acknowledged as the driving force behind Jamaica's bobsleigh program. He has been an active member of the team since 1988, when Jamaica first entered the Winter Olympics in Calgary in Canada. Stokes authored the book Cool Runnings and Beyond, the story of Jamaica's bobsled team, which was later made into a movie.
Bishop Dr. Calvert Everton Thomas for service for religion and community development.
After leaving the Caribbean Bible Institute, Bishop Dr. Calvert Thomas became assistant pastor for the Emmanuel Apostolic Church in Kingston. In 1988, he pioneered the fast-growing branch in Port Moore St. Catherine. Today, he pastors both assemblies and serves as the presiding prelate of the organization with oversight responsibility for
Bishop
40
Lee
churches in
Harold
Jamaica.
Welsh for service to religion and community development. The insignia will be collected by his wife, Mrs. Desreen Welsh.
Bishop Welsh has served as president and presiding bishop of the Shiloh Apostolic Church of Jamaica for 43 years. Under his tenure, he sought to improve the quality of life for many students and parishioners, encouraging education and business ownership. He has expanded the church, establishing churches in the United States, the United Kingdom, and in Canada.
Commodore Antoinette Sandra Lee Weems Gorman for distinguished service to the Jamaica Defense Force.
Commodore Weems Gorman enlisted in the Jamaica Defense Force on August 17, 1992, and for most of the time since, she served in the Coast Guard. She's the first female officer in the JDF to command a line unit.
For long and outstanding service in education, sport, and for volunteerism.
When Mrs. Whiteman came to Jamaica over 50 years ago, she was already an accomplished athlete, physical education teacher and coach. She has earned the respect of her colleagues and students in the field of netball, a sport for which she's qualified as a coach at the international
Leroy
level.
A. Williams for outstanding service to education and community development.
Councillor Leroy Williams is the Deputy Mayor of Montego Bay. He's Councillor for the Montego Bay North Division in St. James. He's also an educator who has given over 40 years of service to educating Jamaica's youth.
Brigadier Roderick Anthony Williams for distinguished service to the Jamaica Defense Force.
Brigadier Williams has served continuously in the Jamaica Defense Force since July 1, 1991. He has held several senior appointments, including Commandant for the Caribbean Junior Command Staff College.
Mr. Anthony Xavier Wilson for sterling contribution to dance through the Company Dance Theatre. Tony Wilson.
Anthony Wilson is one of Jamaica's leading exponents of dance, with a career spanning 4 decades. While only in high school at Kingston Technical in the 1970s, he started dancing with the late Sheila Barnett, a founding member of the National Dance Theatre Company, the NDTC. At the NDTC, he was principal
Your
dancer,
Excellency.
choreographer, and set designer. Now, at this juncture in the proceedings, we're going to have a musical
Stephen
selection.
Robert Nestor Ragamuffin Marley is the son of Bob Marley and Rita Marley. Stephen is an 8-time Grammy Award winner, 3 times as a solo artist, twice as a producer of younger brother Damian Marley's Halfway Tree and Welcome to Jam rock albums, and a further 3 times as a member of Ziggy Marley and the Melody Makers. In his self-produced solo albums, Mind Control in 2007, Mind Control Acoustics in 2008, Revelation Part 1, The Root of Life 2011, and Revelation Part 2, The Fruit of Life 2016, Stephen has displayed commendable artistic creativity in the mastery of a variety of musical instruments, and as the composer and producer of all the songs on his album. Ladies and gentlemen, we are preparing the performance area to hear from Mr. Stephen Marley.
Now on your screen, as Stephen Marley gets ready to make that musical presentation, if you look closely to the left of the screen, I think he's blocking her now, but his sister Cedella is in the audience. Her son Skip is to the far left, seated. Bob Marley's granddaughter is to the right, Donisha. She's playing the role of photographer this morning.
Could you put your hands together for Stephen Marley?
So the family is here in support of Stephen this morning.
Oh, it's green and gold, Rasta at the control. They try to keep us down, scatter us all around. To diverse part of the earth, they're hoping we'd waste away. But no matter what they do, no matter what they say, all the Jaja children are go Harambe, Harambe. Harambe, Harambe. You heard I say Harambe, me say Harambe. You hear what I say Harambe, say Harambe. Oh, you heard I say Harambe. What color is the rainbow? Oh, check it next time it shows. It's the way we should be, together in harmony, rocking on the same boat, sailing up the same stream. Oh, no matter what they do, no matter what they say, all the Jaja children are go Harambe, Harambe. Hear what I say, Harambe, say Harambe. You hear what I say, Harambe. My mama say, you hear what I say, Harambe. My papa say, hear what I say, Harambe. Now can a leopard change his spot, or Jaja children their skin? Bob say blood thicker than water. Oh, love will take us further. So don't you feel no way. I saw mama say, for no matter what they do, no matter what they say, all the Jaja children are go Harambe, Harambe. You hear what I say, Harambe. All my mama say, Harambe. And my sister say, Harambe. And the children say, Harambe. Now, Harambe means working together, pulling together. Harambe, the African way, Harambe, the Jamaican way, Harambe. Everyone gonna say Harambe, everyone gonna say Harambe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stephen Marley. I think the audience, the company gathered here, will permit me to tell you that your mother was singing along.
And that very popular song, recorded by Rita Marley in 2003, Harambe, beautifully executed by her son Stephen here at the 2019 National Honors and Awards, where
His
Rita Marley
Excellency, the
received
Governor General,
an award.
acting in accordance with the provisions of the National Honors and Awards Act, has been pleased, on the advice of the Prime Minister, to award the Badge of Honor to the following persons with effect from the 6th day of August 2019. The presentation of the Badge of Honor for Gallantry. Ms. Tamar Delise Blake, for an act of courage and bravery in ensuring the safe return of a stolen infant, Sabrian Hutton. Ms. Blake identified and reported the situation when the alleged mother tried to register the infant.
And many persons would remember this very popular news story earlier this year. On February 5, Miss Blake averted the unlawful registration of the birth of the stolen infant, bringing child and parents back together on February 8th.
Miss Susan Elizabeth Foster, for the display of bravery in saving the life of a police officer who under criminal assault was hit from his motorcycle. Ms. Foster rescued the injured officer and transported him to hospital.
Ms. Foster witnessed a driver hit Officer Merrick Nelson of the Hunts Bay Division off his motorbike along Spanish Town Road, while others crowded around and began streaming and taking pictures of the hurt officer on the ground. She called for help, put the wounded officer in her car, and drove him to the Kingston Public Hospital. Thankfully, the policeman has now recovered from his injuries. And we now move into presentations of the Badge of Honor for Meritorious Service. The next group of recipients take their place on the presentation platform.
The presentation of the Badge of Honor for Meritorious Service. Mrs. Clarissa Bailey for Community Service and Healthcare.
Nurse Bailey has served for close to 4 decades. Her career has seen her working in both the public and private sectors, including the St. Anne's Bay Hospital.
Mrs. Veronica Bailey Coke for Community Service.
Mrs. Bailey Coke is mother to many, including her 9 biological children. She organizes dinner every Sunday for as many elderly and vulnerable residents as is brought to her attention in her community of Hamilton
Ms.
Gardens.
Norma Jean
Portmore.
Duncan for Public Service.
Norma Jean Duncan has made the national pledge the guiding light of her life, she says. As a practical nurse, she volunteered with the St. John's Ambulance and is doing so now for 42 years.
Maureen Clark Dwyer for service to the education sector.
Maureen Dwyer is the Chief Executive Officer and Chief Inspector for the National Education Inspectorate. She has the distinction of being the longest-serving Inspector of Schools in Jamaica's modern history.
Mr. Clive Anthony Evans, for service to the sport of horse racing.
Clive Evans is an inductee in the Jamaica Racing Commission Hall of Fame. Having started as a stable hand at the Caymanas Park in 1986, he moved through the ranks to later becoming a stable assistant, exercise rider,
Mr. Fitzhugh Forrest,
president.
for service in the health sector.
Fitzhugh Forrest is a perfusionist, who has given more than 4 decades of service to the health sector and the University Hospital
Mr.
of the West
Cornel
Indies.
Ivan Graver, for service to the Embassy of Jamaica and Permanent Mission of Jamaica in Washington, D.C., United States of America.
Cornel Graver has served the Embassy of Jamaica in Washington, D.C. and the Permanent Mission of Jamaica to the Organization of American States for more than 30 years. Since 1988, he provided faithful, dedicated service to both as a chauffeur
Harold
and messenger.
Henry Sr. for public service. Mr. Henry is unable to be with us this morning. The award will be presented to his son, Mr. Harold Henry Jr.
Harold Henry has spent much of his life giving back to the people of the Rose Hall Division in St. James. For 22 years, he served as their councillor. He was also a Bustamante Industrial Trade Union officer and representative for 38 years.
Your Excellency, sir, there is one person coming now, sir. Mrs. Edna Joyce Cooper, for service in the field of nursing.
Mrs. Cooper started her vocation as a staff nurse at the University Hospital of the West Indies in 1965. For 40 of her 42 years at the hospital, she worked on the orthopedics ward. During her tenure of service on Ward 17, she acted as the sister of the ward, the nurse in charge, and retired in January 2007. And those ramps today have made life so much easier for our recipients who have ambulatory issues and are not able to walk up onto the presentation platform. And another group of recipients now make their way in place.
Mr. Michael Melford Hyatt, for public service.
Mr. Hyatt has given 29 years of service for loyal and meritorious service in the area of government construction, contract monitoring at the now defunct Office of the Contractor General.
The award now Mrs. Nella L. Perrier, for service in the field of education and community service.
Nella Perrier is an educator with more than 40 years of service. She has taught at the Barracks Road Primary School, Bogue Hill, Granville, Springfield, and Johns Hall all-age schools in St. James.
Mr. Errol Anthony Rickman, for contribution to the development of sciences in the field of astronomy.
Mr. Rickman has dedicated most of his life to the promotion of astronomy in Jamaica. As then president of the Astronomical Association of Jamaica, he forged a partnership with the International Astronomy Club, Astronomers Without Borders.
Mr. Astley Shakes, for ground transportation services in the tourism industry.
Mr. Shakes has given over 52 years of service to the tourism industry, and in particular the area of ground transportation. He's one of the founders of Jamaica Cooperative Automobile and Limousine J-Cal.
Mr. Roy Nathaniel Spencer for service to tourism and hospitality.
Roy Spencer has been a great ambassador for Jamaica's tourism through his consistent and exemplary service. He began working at the Pelican Grill in Montego Bay in 1975, and customers local and overseas look forward to seeing his familiar face.
Mrs. Merlene Agatha Watson Evans for community service.
Marlene Watson Evans has served the parish of St. Andrew as a Justice of the Peace for 30 years and is a lay magistrate in the St. Andrew Parish Court.
Mrs. Yvonne May Wallace for community service.
Yvonne Wallace has been the president of the Green Acres Citizens Association for the past 10 years. She was instrumental in the construction of a community center and placement of a bus stop at the entrance to the community.
Colonel Farron Enzert Williams for significant contribution to the Maroon community.
Colonel Williams has been in charge of the Accompong Maroons for 11 years. He is a consistent advocate for the community, credited with negotiating with the Bethlehem Moravian College to provide scholarships for students from the Maroon community.
Dr. Andrea Marie Wilkins Daly for service to youth development and to the development of the pharmaceutical profession.
Dr. Wilkins Daly has approximately 25 years of service in the medical field. She was among the first group of registered pharmacists to be certified by the American Pharmacists Association to train others for the administration of vaccines in Jamaica and the Caribbean.
The following recipient is an honorary member of the Badge of Honor for Meritorious Service. Dr. Hua Sun Helen Lee for dedicated service in the field of health.
Dr. Lee has been part of the North Shore Baptist Church's mission to Buff Bay, Portland for more than 10 years. On each mission, she works tirelessly, treating more than 400 patients. She performs physicals, eye exams, diabetes and blood pressure screenings, and distributes medication, most of which is donated or paid out of her own pocket. She's now leading a team of dentists and dental students to Jamaica to offer their services. We are indeed grateful to Dr. Lee and each and every recipient who has done so much in their own way to give back and to build this Jamaica, land we love.
The presentation of the Badge of Honor for long and faithful service. Miss Margaret Rose Barnes for over 35 years of service to the public service and community development.
Margaret Barnes worked in various roles at the St. Mary Parish Council during her 35 years, including as an executive officer and assistant secretary manager. Within her community, she helps residents in accessing indigent housing and better sanitary conveniences.
Vogel for service in the field of education and community development.
Mr. Bogle embarked on his successful teaching career in 1966. Served as principal of Wilmington and Mount Hermon All-Age and Trinity Primary Schools. He's now a Justice of the Peace and member of the St. Thomas Lay Magistrates Association.
Edward Christopher Bond for contribution to public service, in particular the Grace Cooperative Credit Union.
Edward Bond has helped to guide the growth of the Grace Cooperative Credit Union, which has been offering financial services to its over 2,000 members for the past 49 years. He's integral to the process of policy development, annual review, and strategic
Mr.
decision-making.
Simon Sylvester Campbell, for long and faithful service at Devon House.
Mr. Campbell has dedicated 21 years of his life to the beautification of Devon House. He started out as an employee of Things Jamaican and transitioned to Devon House when the craft manufacturer
Ms.
closed
Donna
its
Marie
doors.
Douglas, for long and dedicated service to the Jamaican Liaison Service.
Donna Marie Douglas spent the early years of her career with the Ministry of Labour and Social Security and the Canadian High Commission in Jamaica as a secretary stenotypist.
Mr. Renford Glenn Douglas, for public service and contribution to the Jamaica Credit Union League.
Mr. Douglas spent many years working with the Jamaica Credit Union League, both at home and abroad, serving as director of the World Council of Credit Unions, CEO of the Caribbean Confederation of Credit Unions, and many other roles.
Mrs. Opal Maureen Edwards, for over 40 years of service to education and health.
Opal Edwards is a registered nurse and midwife with over 40 years' experience. She has served various institutions, including the Lioneltown, Maypen, and Cornwall regional hospitals.
Mrs. Hilary Green, for long and faithful service in the field of education and nation building.
Mrs. Green spent 3.5 decades in the teaching profession and describes it as her passion. She spent all of her professional life at Farm Primary and Junior High. And as another group of recipients make their way to receive their awards, we recognize
Mrs. Joan Vinola Howard, for long and dedicated service in the field of education.
Mrs. Howard joined the staff of York Castle High School in 1971, where she spent 3 years before moving on to Montego Bay High. There she spent 20 years and was instrumental in establishing an evening institute alongside her colleagues.
Reverend Ledger Leslie Kellier, for outstanding contribution to religion and community development.
Reverend Kellier pursued studies in both theology and business. He was a recipient of the Cornwall College Man of Might Award in 2016 for his contribution to the school. He started the Leslie and Laurel A. Kellier Charitable Trust Fund, which
Mrs.
contributes to
Herma
education of
Estriana
youth.
Lawson, for community service.
Herma Lawson served the Post and Telecommunications Department for over 44 years. She is a Justice of the Peace who has served the Children Court, the Lay Magistrates Association, and Victims Support Unit.
Mr. Silbert Augustus Lodge, for service to the health sector and community service.
Mr. Lodge joined the staff of the Gordon Town Health Centre as a male orderly in 1958. He remained there for 33 years, travelling with doctors on numerous occasions to attend to patients in communities of rural
Reverend
St. Andrew.
Zelphia Hyacinth McLaren, for long and faithful service to religion and education.
Reverend McLaren contributed over 40 years to Jamaica's education system. She started an illustrious teaching career in 1968 at her alma mater, Montego Bay High School, and ended as a principal lecturer at the Sam Sharp Teachers College in Social Studies
Dr.
Department.
Herma Joyce Elizabeth Meade Thompson, for outstanding contribution to religion and community development.
Dr. Herma Meade Thompson has copped numerous awards over the course of her 35 years of service to education. She's currently principal of the Christ Church Early Childhood Center and a member of the Anglican Faith. She currently serves as a Reverend Lay Reader, Administrator, and Secretary. I believe I started earlier but didn't get to conclude my comments on just how well the presentations are flowing this morning. Thanks, of course, to the JDF.
Long and faithful service to community development.
Mr. Miller has contributed over 50 years to the development of Western Jamaica. He has served as a councillor for the Pell River and Green Island divisions in Hanover. He was able to mobilize the people of Lower Rock Spring
Paul
District in
Richard
Western
Neal,
Hanover.
for long and dedicated service to religion and community service.
Reverend Neal has served as a chaplain for the JCF since 2001. Last year, he was recognized for 30 years of committed service to the Seaview Baptist Church.
Mr. Hartley Ralph Nugent, for service to politics and community service. Mr. Nugent is unable to be with us this morning. The medal will be received by his granddaughter, Nicoy Scott.
Hartley Nugent is an entrepreneur who operates a hardware store in his beloved parish of St. Mary. His passion for his community saw him embracing the role of councillor for the Islington Division for 6 years. He's also a Justice of the Peace for the parish of St. Mary and has been holding that post for more than 10 years.
Mrs. Donna Antoinette Pink Smith, for dedicated service to the Jamaican Liaison Service. Mrs. Pink Smith is unable to be with us today. The award will be received by her daughter, Miss Stephanie Smith.
Donna Pink Smith began her career in public service as a labor officer in the Ministry of Labor. In September 1992, she joined the Jamaican Liaison Service as a temporary clerk. In her 27 years of service to the Jamaican Liaison Service, her duties have included assisting farm workers with the various paperwork necessary to facilitate their compensation.
Miss Thelma Jean Elizabeth Ritchie, for long and dedicated service to education and community development.
Thelma Ritchie began her 39 years of service in education at the St. Annie's Primary School in Kingston. She also taught at the Dallas All-Age and Yallis Primary Schools. She was inspired to become an early childhood education officer in 1981, a post she held until her retirement in 2006.
Mr. Glester Radcliffe Rowe, for long and continuous service to public service and community development.
Mr. Rowe has been Justice of the Peace for the parish of Trelawney since 1994. His passion for his community has seen him serve on several school boards,
Reverend
including
Dr.
Albertstown
Winston
Primary
Garfield
and
Smith,
high schools.
for over 43 years of service to religion.
Saved and baptized at the age of 16, Reverend Smith has dedicated his life to Christian ministry. The pastor has contributed 43 years of service to the Haven Hill Baptist Church.
Posthumous award, Mr. Ferdinand Theodore Spence, for 35 years of service to Jamaica Telephone Company Limited and the Credit Union Limited. The award will be received by his son, Mr. Cornell Spence.
Ferdinand Spence had served for 35 years at the Jamaica Telephone Company. He was a founding member and past president of the Jamaica Telephone Company Credit Union, now known as C&W Jamaica Cooperative Credit Union. The credit union currently offers the F.T. Spence Scholarship biennially to a tertiary level student pursuing accounting.
Mr. Paul Williams, for outstanding service to community development.
Paul Williams has given decades of service to the development of St. Mary. He is a Justice of the Peace and an executive member of the Lay Magistrates Association. He's been a member of the Jamaica Cricket Umpire Association for 38 years.
Mrs. Linda May Wood Graham, for 38 years of service to the community development.
Linda May Wood Graham has provided sterling service to the Social Development Commission, the SDC. Parsha Allen and the St. Catherine SDC family have sent their heartiest congratulations.
The following recipient is an honorary member of the Badge of Honor for Long and Faithful Service. Honorary, Mr. Fernando Salazar Fuentes, for long and faithful service to the government of Jamaica as a chauffeur, giving service to 6 Jamaican ambassadors over 2.5 decades in the Embassy of Jamaica in Mexico.
The very impressive Salazar Fuentes has served as a chauffeur at the Embassy of Jamaica in Mexico for 23 years. The Mexican has been the confidant, de facto bodyguard and friend to 6 Jamaican ambassadors to Mexico. His attention to detail and extensive knowledge of the city of Mexico and the diplomatic community, as well as his commitment to his job,
Thank you,
made
Your
him
Excellency.
a tremendous asset to the embassy. And we're at the end of another segment of these awards. Taking a break now for a musical selection.
Hundreds of reggae recordings since the mid-1970s. More recently, Mr. Fraser has been recording, producing, and touring with Taurus Riley and Dwayne Stevenson. Dean Fraser has created 16 tracks on CD 2 of We Remember Gregory Isaacs, which was recorded in 2011, and Reggae Gone Country in 2011, both on the VP Records label. To date, Dean Fraser has 20 albums to his credit. He has recorded with international acts such as Lauryn Hill, Gentleman, and John Legend. He's been the opening act for Gladys Knight, James Ingram, Manhattans, and Peaches and Herb. To his merit, Dean Fraser received the Musgrave Medal in 1994 and the Order of Distinction in 2010 from the Government of Jamaica in recognition of his services to reggae music. Ladies and gentlemen, will you help me welcome Mr. Dean Fraser.
The inimitable and supremely talented Dean Fraser. A very beautiful rendition of Many Rivers to Cross. And we go now into the next set of awards to be received by members of the uniformed
His Excellency,
groups.
the Governor General, acting in accordance with the provisions of the relevant regulations made under Section 7 of the National Honours and Awards Act, has been pleased to award the Medal of Honour with effect from the 23rd day of May 2018 to the following members of the uniformed services. The Medal of Honour for Gallantry. Jamaica Defence Force, posthumous award. Lance Corporal Ricardo Dane Antonio Bennett. For his quick, daring and selfless actions on Friday the 2nd of September 2016 in order to confront the threat posed by a gunman to himself and other civilians at a beauty and barber salon in Crossroads, Kingston, with no apparent regard for his own safety, and which led to his untimely death. The medal will be received by his widow, Mrs. Petrona Bennett.
And no doubt, Mrs. Bennett must be feeling very proud today that her husband is being recognized for that selfless act which saved many lives that fateful morning, September 2, 2016. So important as a nation that we recognize these men and women who have helped
With
to
effect
secure
from
the
Wednesday,
lives of others.
2012, Lance Corporal Ferdinand Augustine Trench. For saving the life of a gentleman who fell down a precipice along the Junction Main Road in St. Mary on Saturday, August 6, 2011.
And again, it is so important that we recognize that although the members of the JDF and other uniformed groups are trained, expertly so, to preserve and protect life, but it should never be taken for granted when they go above and beyond to help those in need and to save lives.
Presentation of the Medal of Honor for Meritorious Service, the Jamaica Defence Force. Major Retired, Maurice Otley Tyne.
Major Tyne served the JDF for 25 years and is
Warrant
being
Officer
recognized
Class
this
1,
morning.
Gerald Constantine Baker.
001 Baker for 29 years of service to the JDF.
Warrant Officer Class 1, Hugh Patrick Blake.
001 Blake being recognized for 28 years of service to the JDF this morning.
Warrant Officer Class 1, Lancelot Everton Charles.
001 Charles, 32 years of service to the JDF.
Warrant Officer Class 1, Easton St. Valentine Douglas.
001 Douglas, serving the JDF for 21 years.
Warrant Officer Class 1, Lucal Antonio Miller.
001 Miller, 25 years of service to the Jamaica Defense Force.
Warrant Officer Class 1, Eric Charles Rodney.
001 Rodney, being recognized for 21 years of service to the JDF.
Warrant Officer Class 1, Winston Joshua Williams.
001 Williams, being recognized for 27 years of service to the JDF with the Medal of Honor for meritorious service. He is among the 9 members of the JDF who have received such an award
The
this
Jamaica
morning.
Constabulary Force.
A total of 25 members of the police force will be given awards this morning. Medals of Honor for meritorious service.
Assistant Commissioner of Police Gary Lennox Welch, a member of the Order of Distinction in the rank of Commander. Rank of Officer.
ACP Gary Welch, being recognized for 9 years of service to the JCF.
Senior Superintendent of Police Everald Garfield Linton.
SSP Linton has served the Jamaica Constabulary Force for 33 years.
Senior Superintendent of Police Maurice Jr. Robinson.
SSP Robinson, being recognized for 34 years of service to the JCF.
Superintendent of Police Cedric Ashley Iton Allen.
Superintendent Cedric Allen has given 38 years of service to the police force.
Superintendent of Police Barrington Courtney Daly.
Superintendent Daly, being recognized for 37 years of service.
Superintendent of Police Stevenson Green.
"36 years of service under Superintendent Green's belt.
Superintendent of Police Patrick Anthony Matthews.
Superintendent Matthews has been with the Jamaica Constabulary Force for 37 years. And as I mentioned previously, we're now in this segment where we're seeing the presentation of awards to uniformed groups. 25 such members from the Jamaica Constabulary Force.
Superintendent of Police Velma Cynthia Thomas Gale.
Superintendent Thomas Gale has served the JCF for 33 years.
Superintendent of Police Bernal Paul Thompson.
Superintendent Thompson has served for 36 years, and you, I'm sure, can hear the loud cheers and screams from his friends and supporters who have come
Deputy
this morning.
Superintendent of Police Clarence Stevenson Bailey.
Deputy Superintendent Clarence Bailey has served the JCF for 38 years.
Deputy Superintendent of Police Lilith Mervis Campbell.
Deputy Superintendent Campbell has served the JCF for 32 years.
Deputy Superintendent of Police Conrad Glenfield Cummings.
DSP Cummings has served the JCF for 33 years, receiving his Medal of Honor for meritorious service this morning.
Deputy Superintendent of Police Michael Rupert Dow.
DSP Dow has given 36 years of service to the Jamaica Constabulary Force and being recognized for that service this morning. Among 25 recipients of that award, I should let you know that there are 3 members of that group who were not present to receive their awards today. Superintendent of Police Lloyd Bailey, Deputy Superintendent of Police Leroy Minot, and Deputy Superintendent of Police Byron Yates.
Deputy Superintendent of Police Michael Hugh Grant.
DSP Grant, just shy of 40 years of service, 39 to be precise.
Deputy Superintendent of Police Ethel Maud Halliman Watson.
Deputy Superintendent of Police Halliman Watson, being recognized for 34 years of service.
Deputy Superintendent of Police Joel Raphael Hanson.
DSP Hanson has served the Jamaica Constabulary Force for 31 years.
Deputy Superintendent of Police Lorraine Palmer.
37 years of service given to the JCF by Deputy Superintendent Palmer. Aided this morning by a member of the Jamaica Defence Force.
Deputy Superintendent of Police Michael Garfield Pommels.
DSP Pommels has given the Jamaica Constabulary Force 32 years of service.
Deputy Superintendent of Police Bertland Earl Reynolds.
Another member of the JCF who is approaching 40 years of service, 38 years for DSP Reynolds.
Assistant Superintendent of Police Cosmo Leon Blake.
Assistant Superintendent Blake has given 36 years of service to the JCF.
Assistant Superintendent of Police Eric Hayden Blake.
And this gentleman, Assistant Superintendent of Police Blake, has given 40 years of service and is receiving a Medal of Honor for meritorious service this Heroes Day morning.
The Department of Correctional Services.
And we see the very smartly clad members of the Department of Correctional Services, 26 of them in all, in fact, who will receive Medals of Honor for meritorious service.
Assistant Superintendent Tevye Ray Anderson.
Assistant Superintendent Anderson steps up to receive his medal for 31 years of service.
Assistant Superintendent Maureen Patricia Gale Smith.
32 years of service for Assistant Superintendent Maureen Gale Smith.
Overseer Donovan Earl Campbell.
Overseer Campbell, 32 years of service.
Overseer, now Assistant Superintendent Hartnell Felix Eccleston.
Overseer Eccleston, 35 years of service.
Overseer Devon Ray Hannum.
Overseer Hannum, another member of the Department of Correctional Service, who has given 32 years of service. And another group of
Overseer.
Members of the Department of Correctional Services get into place.
Overseer Malvo Orinthia Johnson.
Overseer Johnson is being recognized with a Medal of Honor for 29 years of meritorious service.
Overseer Paul Edward Joseph.
Overseer Joseph has given 32 years of service to the Department of Correctional Services.
Overseer Doreen Faye Miller. The medal will be received by her son, Marcus Begbie.
And the medal is being received, of course, for Overseer Miller, who served the Department of Correctional Services for 33 years, being received by her son Marcus.
Overseer Peter Atkinson Rodwell.
39 years of meritorious service for Overseer Peter Rodwell.
Overseer Norman Aloysius Sanford.
Overseer Sanford, has given 28 years of service to the Department of Correctional Services.
Overseer Eric Floyd Watkis.
Overseer Watkis has given 28 years of service to the Department of Correctional Services.
Overseer, now Assistant Superintendent Alfred Constantine Whitfield.
And another member of the Department of Correctional Services who was given more than 30 years, 32 to be precise. 32 years of service. We're down now to the last group of members of the Department of Correctional Services, 26 of them in all.
Overseer Rollin Lloyd White.
And Overseer White is receiving a Medal of Honor for 32 years of service.
Overseer Dave Everald Williams.
33 years of service for Overseer Dave Williams.
Staff Officer Christopher Orlando Bailey.
Staff Officer Bailey with 29 years of service.
Staff Officer Perlina Lilith Coleman Shuttlewood.
Staff Officer Coleman Shuttlewood has given 24 years of meritorious service to the Department of Correctional Services.
Staff Officer Aaron Gary Johnson.
Staff Officer Johnson with 26 years of service.
Staff Officer James Roy McKenzie.
"28 years of service for Staff Officer McKenzie, receiving a Medal of Honor for meritorious service today.
Staff Officer Robert Elroy Taylor.
Staff Officer Taylor receiving his Medal of Honor for 26 years of meritorious service. And he concludes
The Jamaica Fire Brigade.
this group of members of the Department of Correctional Services receiving Medals of Honor for meritorious service today. Now we move into the final set of awards.
District Officer Emile Julius Petgrave.
District Officer Petgrave receiving a Medal of Honor for 28 years of meritorious service to the Jamaica Fire Brigade.
District Officer Patrick Lipton Brown.
District Officer Brown Another member of the Jamaica Fire Brigade being recognized for 28 years of service.
District Officer Gerald Garfield Fremantle.
District Officer Fremantle, also with 28 years of service to the Jamaica Fire Brigade.
District Officer Colin Brown.
District Officer Colin Brown, 28 years of service as well.
District Officer Sylvester Emmanuel Hill.
District Officer Hill, 28 years as well.
District Officer Anthony Lloyd Jarrett.
28 years of meritorious service for District Officer Anthony Lloyd Jarrett.
District Officer Neville Earl Beckford.
30 years of meritorious service for District Officer Neville Beckford. The very tall Neville Beckford.
District Officer Norman Dwight Alexander Poirier.
Another member of the Jamaica Fire Brigade who's being recognized with the Medal of Honor for 28 years of meritorious service to the Jamaica Fire Brigade. And these gentlemen make up the last group of recipients for this morning's awards.
District Officer Michael Fitzgerald Roper.
District Officer Roper has given 29 years of service, for which he receives a Medal of Honor for meritorious service.
District Officer Canute Elvis Smith.
District Officer Smith receiving a Medal of Honor for 36 years of service to the Jamaica Fire Brigade.
District Officer Keith Constantine Harris.
And District Officer Harris is the final member of the uniformed groups receiving a Medal of Honor this morning for 27 years of service to the Jamaica Fire Brigade.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
And we have indeed come
This
to the end.
concludes the presentation of the awards. Please stand for the singing of the national anthem. please remain standing for the departures of their Excellencies, the Governor General and the Most Honorable Lady Allen. Before that, the Governor General will be coming off the stage to meet with the Prime Minister.
And these, of course, are the final moments. Final moments of this morning's ceremony of investiture and installation of national honors and awards.
Mrs. Hilton, Minister of Culture, Olivia Grange, Senator Auburn Hill, and Mrs. Hill, Speaker of the House, the Honorable Pernell Charles, Chief Justice, the Honorable Brian Sykes, and Mrs. Sykes, and the Mayor of Kingston, Senator Councillor Delroy Williams, the President of the Court of Appeal, Mr. Dennis Morrison, our Attorney General, Smalahu Fort, please remain standing for the departure of the Governor General and Lady Allen.
And we see the Governor General now leaving the presentation pavilion. And we are indeed in the closing moments of this year's National Honors and Awards. We saw the presentation of awards, medals to 215 persons who have given outstanding service to Jamaica, contributions in the field of education, science, technology, community development, philanthropy, sports, entertainment, and heard musical selections from some of Jamaica's greats, really.
Thank you so much for sharing this opinion.
This has been the 2019 edition of the Ceremony of Investiture and Installation of National Honors and Awards. I have had the privilege of presenting these awards. My name is Stacey Ann Smith. You would have heard the voice of the King's House orator, Faye Ellington, and you would see Antoinette Aiken, who provided services for the hearing impaired on your screen. She has been signing for 13 years professionally. This is her third year providing services for these awards. This broadcast has been brought to you by the Jamaica Information Service. Those here in Jamaica would see it on free-to-air television, or Jamaicans and others overseas were tuned in via live stream on the JIS website, jis.gov.jm. We thank the Jamaica Information Service, as always, for bringing these awards to us, led by CEO Donna Marie Rowe, the Deputy CEO Entros Campbell, Seaton Richards directing the technical team, and Kerry Ann Smith McIntosh leading the television department. This is a collaborative effort. It requires a lot of work and precision. We congratulate the Jamaica Defense Force, the JCDC, and so many other agencies as well of government who work so well together to present this flawless execution to you this morning. As you would have seen if you've been watching all morning, we are inside an enclosed area, the presentation pavilion. So we were not outdoors as we would normally have been. But I do believe the recipients, their guests, and all those who were working tirelessly behind the scenes this morning would appreciate the temperature inside this enclosed area. We were safe from the elements. It's rained all night, so it was a little soggy outside, so we were very comfortable inside. And it was really, really another excellent production and presentation. As I said before, my name is Stacey Ann Smith. I have been your host this morning, and I thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, take care, walk good, and do enjoy the rest of your Heroes Day.